I mean, how many wives go out at 12 o'clock at night? I mean, where are you going to go at 12 o'clock at night?
Now all of a sudden you're saying all you want to do is
What
move out
do you
of
do when a
mother's
woman
home?
cheats on a man? What do you do?
What do you mean
Maybe you
cheats?
ask her why.
A crisis can occur at any time in every family. Sometimes an outsider is needed who offers objectivity and direction through counseling. This television program recreates counseling sessions with actors portraying family members. They are guided by a licensed social worker as the crisis counselor, Thom Thompson.
It seems that men are considered by society to be more prone to infidelity in a marriage. In fact, it's been shown in recent studies that women are far less likely to engage in a casual affair outside their marriage. The consensus of opinion is that women feel more guilt, though, about extramarital affairs than men. The subject of a woman's infidelity came up when I met again with Cliff and Donna Price, and Donna's mother. I saw them previously about another issue in their lives and was surprised to learn that this time Donna had been involved in an extramarital affair. Well, first of all, fill me in a little bit. Tell me,
Well,
what has happened between then? Have you been able to find work?
I got a job. I'm working in a factory.
Good.
Yeah, it's
For how long
graveyard and it's only part-time, but
Well,
I
so
just
what?
got it. I got it a month ago.
I know that means a lot to you.
Just
I
to me.
remember what you told me about that and what you shared with me last time, and I've been out of work myself before, and it changes things a lot to have a job.
Yeah, it's not much, but it's something.
So, why are we here today?
Well, I don't know how to say that. Do you know how to
let me fill this in for you, Counselor. Since we were here, I put my house up for sale. Do you remember I was talking about taking an option?
You were talking about possibly moving to...
Moving to Florida. I bought the house. But my house has not been selling, and it's on the market, and I do intend to sell it if I can get some kind of an offer.
You are still living with your mother and your mother-in-law?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Nothing has changed, and nothing has improved.
I assumed that since you still came here as a family unit, so to speak, today again.
Well, we have family problems, and they continue.
It's my fault we're here.
Now, Donna, don't take that tack.
It's
It's not your fault.
I don't want
and
to deal in the terms of fault, but tell me what you want to say.
Well, just recently, we had sort of a bad time. I was seeing, very briefly, someone else, and Cliff found out about it, and it was a mistake, and I tried to tell him that, and it will never, ever happen again, and I really am not entirely sure why it happened this time, but...
Well, I think it's very clear. You're not getting affection. You're getting nothing but a grumbling man and blame, and you work, and you have no love in your life.
But those are the kind of things that, if you'll excuse me, if they are true at all, I think they would have to come from your daughter and not from you.
I want my marriage to last. It was not my intention to break up my marriage.
Well, that's why we're here. Because it seems like there's not much that we have. There's not much reason for us to stay together.
I'm not sure, in one way, remembering what I know about you, that you would say that. You struggled so hard through the last period of time that you spent here in counseling. At that time, you saw a lot of reasons to be together.
I still keep talking, and he still keeps sitting, and nothing ever gets really resolved. I mean, how many times do I have to tell you, I love you, I will stand by you, I want this marriage to work? I can't say it any more times than that.
Is that what you think is standing by me?
Did you have to take the step of going into bankruptcy when you were here before? You were talking about that step. Did you take that step or
It seemed to
not?
be the only thing that we could do. It's the only way we could solve it, I felt.
And so you went into a bankruptcy.
Yes, and that's really why we were still living with Mother.
At least on the other hand, though, that has
But that
solved
cleared
some
us up
problems
anyway.
and has cleared some things up and has taken a
Absolutely.
lot of the really vicious pressures that
Gave
were
us
on
an
you off.
opportunity to
Right.
start again from scratch, at least.
Well, what I need to know from you is, what is your position on what your wife is saying? I'm hearing every kind of conciliatory statement from her about the infidelity, about what happened. What is your position about what should happen next? What will happen next?
What, it's
Or
just-
what do you want to happen?
what I've always wanted is to move away from her mother so we can have a life together, so we don't have to worry about that with someone else on the outside. It's hard enough.
That's
way
not
it
what you
is.
told me.
Wait a minute.
I've
let me
been on trial now for the last week, and all you're talking
Right.
is divorce, and you're just going to leave me. Now all of a sudden you're saying all you want to do is
What
move
do you
out of
do when
Mother's
a woman
home?
cheats on a man? What do you do?
What do you
maybe
mean
maybe you
cheats?
ask her why. Maybe you think maybe something made it possible. I wouldn't have thought it was possible.
How did you find out about this? You call it a brief affair.
Well, I work at night. I work from midnight until 8 in the morning. I work the graveyard shift. And when I come home and she's not home and the bed hasn't been slept in,
He
I get a
follows
little
me.
suspicious. Well, sure I follow you. What do you want me to do?
Trust
I mean,
her.
how many wives go out at 12 o'clock at night? I mean, where are you going to go at 12 o'clock at night?
She could be at a movie.
Ah!
He followed me to Charlie. Charlie is a friend. Actually, Mama introduced me to him. He's the son of a friend of Dad's, I think. I don't know. It was just a friend. It was just a. I don't really even know. It was just somewhere to go other than the house.
I
got so-
introduced her because I thought at least she should have some fun or some laughter. It has never been so grim in our lives as it has been the last year and a half or two. And this girl is just wired up for... She is so nervous and so frantic.
But you certainly must not have expected that it would turn into an
I-
affair or an infidelity.
Oh, no, 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 that wasn't my idea. That was
Wait a
not my
minute.
idea.
Miriam, you'd do anything to get us apart. Why don't you just state that?
This was a young man, socially very well adjusted, humorous, fun to be with. I've known his family for years. I've known him for years. And I thought at least go out to dinner, at least have one evening with some fun, with some pleasure, with some intelligent conversation, which you don't get around you.
But I'm really not sure.
Oh, don't misunderstand. I'm not promoting anything. I want my daughter to be happy, that's all.
Not because your mother-in-law has made certain accusations, but do you think during the period of time of the last several months since the few sessions that we had here, one of the things we focused on then was your wife's need to have you come in her direction emotionally a little bit. Do you think that has happened at all?
Oh, no.
Wait, I want to find out from...
We don't have much time to show that kind of
Being
affection.
on
She works
different
during the
shifts.
daytime. I work at night.
But you only got that job about a month ago, and I'm talking about 3 or 4 months ago. Have you made any movement in that direction of showing more affection? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that if someone doesn't show affection, then that another marital partner has a right to go out and have an affair. I think we all know that
Oh.
that's not so.
Counselor, when we went through trouble, and we went through many years, my husband would reach for me. We'd reach for each other. He'd kiss my hair or touch my cheek or express gratitude that I was empathetic and supportive. This never happens at home. I never hear a kind word, let alone a loving word. Donna is just like a tense rod all the time around you.
Let me check something, Donna. You need to understand what you are hearing. Are you hearing that Cliff is saying that he wants a divorce? Or are you hearing mixed
That's what I've been
things?
hearing. That's all he said to me. I mean,
That's,
nothing changed. It was okay. I mean, everybody tried for a couple of days after we saw you last, and then it went right back to the war. And I mean, I can only take being a bone in some tug of war for so long.
Are you
I
still
made a
in that middle
mistake.
position between these two very
Yes.
strong people?
She made
Excuse
a
me?
human mistake, but she did it out of need. She didn't do it out of any wish to do harm to anyone. This girl has been lonely. She's needed love, and my goodness, if she became aware of the fact that she isn't getting it, and that's a way to solve it,
Oh,
then I have to say your marriage is definitely over. That's a clear
No,
sign.
no,
Wait,
it is
and that
not.
is where that's something I need to say to you, but before I respond to you, and I'm really wanting to, I need to know, is that the message that you want your wife to get, that your answer to this is, let's get divorced and that'll solve the question? I ask you because I don't think that's the message you want to be received, but I honestly don't know, because she says
She's not the only
hearing that
one
over
getting
and
that
over.
message. I'm getting it, and I agree.
Please,
I don't
Mama, let
But
him
sometimes
answer.
you get a message that is not the one that somebody's really trying to send, and the only way you ever find out is to say, let me really hear you out. What are you really saying to me? What do you want me to believe?
Oh, you can say it because you know how. Apparently, we don't know how to communicate.
I just don't think, it's like now, the problem really is between Donna and I, and the fact that we're living with Miriam makes her part, I mean, we're all part of the family, and we thought that we should all come here to discuss this with you, but I don't see how we can settle it with Miriam. She won't let me express
Okay.
myself.
I'm afraid I agree about that. And I don't want you to feel bad about this, but in a moment I'm going to ask you to leave, because a question like a question of infidelity and the questions of trust and what you really want from each other and whether you do want to be together, there shouldn't be another person in on that, especially perhaps a parent. One of the things that you understand, I know because I understand it, is that when you see somebody being constantly critical, you know that they've got more thoughts than just criticism. And I must admit to you, in the 4 or 5 sessions that we spent before and today, almost all I've heard from you is criticism. If they decided that they wanted to go ahead with this marriage, can you find it anywhere in your heart and mind to give at least some moderate support to them as a couple?
No, I cannot. I know what the children go through. I know how they tense up as well. I don't think this is a good marriage for children. I don't think you can raise your children that way. That much I do know, Counselor. No, I think the marriage is dead, and I think the very fact that Donna did lean to another man for sexuality is a perfect
Wait,
proof
we have
of
to
it.
hear from her whether that's why she leaned in that direction or not. That may be the
But you
least of what
asked me
happened.
my opinion,
Of
and that
course I
is
did.
my
Of
opinion.
course I did.
I think it
The
verifies
first time you and
it.
I agree on something, Marion, you know that?
Well, that's
I think the
wonderful.
marriage is over, too. And it's because of you more than any damn
Oh,
else.
no, I didn't live with you before when you lost your jobs. I had nothing to do
Tom,
with
are we
that.
going to talk or...
I don't want you to leave. I do want you to leave now. I'm willing
I'm
to...
sorry, Counselor. I have something else I want to say. I'll leave, but I have something
Go ahead.
that has to be aired, and then I will go. I want you to know, and I want you to know, Donna, that I offered Cliff money to go away and give you an uncontested divorce so you would have custody of the children. And I want you to know that he hesitated, and I do believe he thought about it.
But we're going to have to hear from him on that.
I want you to know that I think if I had upped the money, I would have really accomplished what I think should be accomplished in this marriage. I want you to know that, because then I've said everything that has to be said. I didn't ask to come to this session, and it's all right with me, Donna, if you know it. I think the man can be bought. I think he does steal.
Is it
I
all
do
right?
not like his
Is it all right
character.
also, though, if she decides to be with him, do you give her that much respect that she can make that decision?
I will never lose my daughter, whatever it takes.
Good. Let's let you leave on at least that much of a positive note.
Well, Donna was that she was the only thing that I felt was really behind me, and that she would be with me regardless. It didn't matter that I'd lost the house, and I'd lost the cars,
Had to
and I'd
declare
lost the
bankruptcy.
job. I still had Donna, and I still had the kids. But that, you know, and then I just thought, I never thought
Why didn't you tell me that? You never tell me these things. You let me go on and on, standing behind you, saying how much I love you, and you never give me anything back. How am I supposed to know that's how you felt? My God, I'm living in a battle zone. I went out with Charlie just to get out of the house. Doesn't have anything to do with sex. I don't even know how that happened.
I'd like to say something about that as we go on. That comment from Marion about going to another person for sex, that's just not the way it happens most times. Most infidelities, most affairs, most getting mixed up with somebody else other than your mate are for a lot of other reasons and not really for sex. Sex is somewhere way down the line of what happens.
He was nice to me. We could talk for a whole hour and nobody yelled. I mean, it was a real novelty. He treated me like a woman again. Well, you used to treat me.
Wait, let's focus
You haven't
on that.
in a long time.
But let's focus on that. You did get that kind of treatment from Cliff at one time. The reason I'm focusing on that is she's telling you clearly you're capable of giving her that treatment. Do you hear that part?
Do you
I do, I
remember
hear
how
it,
it
and
was?
I don't seem to be able to do that anymore. I don't know if it's living with your mother. I just feel like we're in a fishbowl. Every time I want to touch you, I feel so much anger towards her that it all comes out.
You never touched me.
Wait, and dumps on Donna. Am
Yeah.
I right or wrong about that? Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, that's the way it comes out.
And I've got another problem, and I guess I'd better deal with it. I've said so many times, and some of my counselor friends disagree with me on this, but I'm so firm on this. I refuse to meddle in people's lives. Even when people solicit me saying, tell me what to do and I'll go do it, I say, no dice, I won't play with that. That's not what I'm going to do. But then there comes a time when I have to talk out of the other side of my mouth, and one of those times is now. There is too much destructiveness coming from your mother. I actually think, although it's kind of hard to see, that it's well-intentioned. She does mean well. She's not an evil person. She's a good person. I know you don't see that sometimes.
She has helped us so much. You know she has.
But now her attitude is not at all supportive. Didn't she spell that out to perfection a few moments ago? So I'm saying you may need to remove yourselves as a couple.
That's the way I see it.
From
I mean,
her.
she's done everything she can to break us up
Soon.
as far as I can see.
But let me go back and check again. I want to be so careful about this because of what I want to talk to Cliff about. I think I've asked you a couple of times, haven't I? And I think you've been very clear to me, but I'm going to check it again. You want this marriage to work.
Yes, I do.
Did that affair do anything that would change your affection for your husband?
No.
Are you clear on that?
It was a mistake. That's all it was. It didn't mean anything.
I want you to open up and hear that, Cliff. That's about as clear a statement as a spouse can make. And maybe those are the words you should remember. It was a mistake. The other message that I'm getting, and I want you to say it to your husband again, in your words, but that you want things from him that you're not getting. Look at him right now and tell him what those things are. Listen to her, please.
I did learn something from this, even though it was a mistake. I learned that I need, I don't know, touching for something other than sex. The only time you touch me, Cliff, is when you want sex. I mean, there's never a caress, just a touch in passing. You never hold my hand. And I do think I need that. I don't know why.
Well, I know why. Human beings need to be touched.
I've often been asked if a couple can recover from a discovered or admitted infidelity. The answer I would give is a clear yes, provided several things happen. First, the couple needs to find out why they drifted far enough apart for an unfaithful act or an affair to start. Affairs usually don't happen to couples whose lives are happy and fulfilling. Second, the truth needs to be dealt with openly and fully. And third, it really is one of those times when it would be helpful to talk with a counselor, partly so that the emotionally injured partner can spill out their anger to the counselor instead of to their mate, and partly so that the counselor can help them both slowly to rebuild trust. Cliff Price is feeling badly about himself because he's been out of work for so long. His low self-esteem has made him an unsupportive marital partner. But Donna says she wants this marriage to continue and doesn't want to continue any unfaithful behavior. Cliff is going to have to decide if he can believe and trust again. I feel Cliff needs to change his own behavior too. He's just simply showing too little faith in himself and too little in his wife. As you saw, I counseled the Prices as a couple without the presence of Donna's mother. Obviously, the mother's domineering presence in their lives just accentuates the pressures on both Donna and Cliff. In future counseling, I would encourage this couple to make one of their immediate goals finding some way to separate their lives from her mother's life, for she seems to be just unrelenting in her opinion of Cliff and doesn't respond to my suggestions that she ought to let her daughter and her son-in-law solve their own problems without her input, opinions, or negative pressures. Let's have health, love, and growth in your family and in mine. I'm Thom Thompson.